whole grain,
We should be good
organic,
to
of course, diet. You want them to eat the grass. No, they, no. Right. Right, okay, so that's good. Yeah, and natural by nature I found only. It's illegal pretty much everywhere.
Okay, we're overcooking our pizza here.
It's a whole controversy that I don't want to get into now that you can research. But basically it's the whole thing about, oh, pizza.
Whoops. Okay.
Well, a little bit late, but we're okay.
What is, not the difference, what is pasteurizing?
Pasteurizing is, well, homogenizing is when the cream is on the top of the milk. Basically, it just hasn't been spun so fast that the particles, the fat particles, basically have spread into the milk. Okay, and the whole controversy on that is that it scars your arteries because it's just spun so fast that it changes the molecular structure of the fat. And that's why you want to have non-homogenized milk, which means you have to shake it before you drink it to get the cream off the top, which I love the way that tastes so much better. Yeah, that's what non-homogenized is. Pasteurizing, yeah, and how good it is. The raw milk is so good, so good. You can go to Tampa and get it. There are sources of getting it. Correct. Right.
Pasteurizing is to kill the bacteria.
To kill the bacteria, but if the cows are taken care of and not stepping in the buckets, you know, you don't need to pasteurize the milk. You don't have to, but the way they farm and the way they do things, the state made it a law that you have to pasteurize it because who knows, the cow would be standing there and put his foot in the bucket of milk and people would say, well, I don't want to waste that. And then also pasteurizing it makes it have a super long shelf life. And just like with the flour, the longer the shelf life, the more money is to be made. So there's a big difference. And you can read all about it. It's a whole nother topic.
All right. That's nice little pizza shot there. Okay. Okay, so we'll be cutting that up in a little bit, and everyone can have a sliver.
Let the cheese set.
Okay.
So you see, I just sit here and knead for at least 10 to 15 minutes.
These loaves have been rising for about 30 minutes, so I'm putting them in the ovens. I got two going in this one. This is a convection oven. I'm going to set it at about 375. In this one, I'm going to put it at 400. This is not a convection oven, so we're cranking the temperature up just a little bit. And let's see, we got our braided loaf here.
And the last loaf that we're going to make is we're going to show you how easy it is to make it in the Bosch mixer, which is what I love, is the Bosch mixer. And that's what I made.
We're going to throw this in
that
there too.
Big, huge 4 loaves and that tiny little mixer there. So
Okay.
you can see how you do it by hand. You know, it's fun. I'm going to pass some of this around so you can feel the texture of it.
And then you have to let that rise before you cook that, right?
Yeah. Okay, so you want to start with the Bosch?
Sure.
You want to tell more about the grains at all while I start with the Bosch, or?
No, I think we covered it sufficiently,
Does
right?
anybody have any questions on why we mill the grain fresh, like all the vitamins? Just to let you know, there's 26.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We found the coolest little software program. It's a freebie on, if you go to usda.gov, you can basically type in usda.gov. It's a software program. You can either use theirs online or download one for either your computer or your Palm Pilot even. And you can basically put in any food, and it'll give you the nutrition content of that food. So myself being curious, one of the things I did is I put in like processed flour versus whole wheat flour versus whole wheat. And I looked at the nutritional differences. Obviously, there was a huge difference between the processed flour and the whole wheat flour that you would find in the store. But what about the whole wheat versus the wheat berry? That's what I was really interested in, because why not just buy whole wheat in the store? And it was really neat to see the differences in nutrition. When you look at the vitamin and mineral content, there was big differences. One of the biggest differences that I saw was in looking at like the carbohydrate count. One of the things you'll get with this, people say, well, isn't bread fattening? What about this bread? Isn't this going to be just as fattening as the white bread? One of the cool things I saw looking that up is that the fiber content, first of all, the flour in the store didn't have any fiber listed in there, and ours did. The whole wheat does. Fiber is going to basically add bulk to it, so the bread, a lot of the bulk in the loaf of bread is going to be fiber. As that's in your body, it's going to basically slow down the insulin response. So from the carbohydrates that you get in this bread, you'll have a slower insulin response because of the fiber content in the bread. The other thing that was neat is looking at the carbohydrate content. It was about 18 to 20% less than that flour, that whole wheat flour that you're buying in the store. So it's basically less carbohydrates and a slower insulin response because of the fiber content. Insulin is that stuff that basically goes in your blood and it takes all the sugars out and basically stores it into your body, which makes you fat. So neat reasons why this would not be fattening like the white bread. Now I put it to a little test a year ago or so. I basically ate 1 to 2 loaves, the big loaves, every day. Okay, not in addition to what I was eating, but that was like the bulk of my diet, in addition to fruits and vegetables and smoothies that I would normally have. So, I actually ended up losing weight for that period of time. I did it for about a whole month. So it seems like ridiculous. Can you actually eat this stuff and lose weight? Absolutely. So, neat thing.
The 30% that wasn't fruits and vegetables. You know, they say 70% should be raw fruits and vegetables, and the other.
Yeah. I don't do my diet like that. I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and a lot of grain products, and I just eat what I want to, really. If I'm craving the breads, I eat the breads, and if I'm craving the smoothie or the fruits and vegetables, that's what I eat. So I haven't really figured that out. And am I eating the right amount of fruits and vegetables? I know I'm eating more than what the government recommends that you should eat. So. Yeah. I'm really not concerned about any of those things. I'm concerned that I put the right foods in my body, and then I know I'm getting all those things. So I can tell you why these things are important, and I know that stuff. But I certainly don't worry about whether I'm getting enough fruits and vegetables or whether or not I'm getting enough fibers. I know I'm getting enough. I know that when I'm eating the fruits and the vegetables, I'm getting lots of fiber. I know in the grains I'm getting, fiber, and I know I'm getting plenty of phytonutrients. I recently stuck my hand in this scanner. It's a blue laser scanner, and it basically gives you your skin carotenoid score. Carotenoids are like one of the major groups of phytonutrients. And you measure it in the skin because if I measure blood carotenoid levels, it has more to do with what I just ate today or yesterday. But in the skin, it's like what I ate in the past year. And it was funny because they had this. It was a grand opening of a spa party that we went to a couple months ago. And everyone was in line getting scanned to find out what their skin carotenoid score was. And they write it down on this little chart and give it back to you. And the chart went from like 0 to 50,000. If you're above 40,000, you're in like the top 1% of the population as far as carotenoid levels go.
Carotenoids?
Yes, carotenoids, and like it's a broad group of phytonutrients, and you probably heard of like lycopenes. If I remember correctly, lycopenes is one of the carotenoids. There's a whole bunch of them in that group. Yeah, you would get lycopenes from your tomatoes. Yeah. Well, 0 to 50,000 is the chart, and I asked the guy, I said, what's the high score in the night? He said 35,000. And I smiled and probably a little arrogant of me, but I said, well, we're going to blow that number away. And he looked at me like, yeah, right, this girl's a vegetarian, and she spends like $300 a month on supplements. There's no way you're going to. And I put my hand in the machine. Remember, the chart only goes up to 50,000, and my score was 57,000. So there was no place to even write it down on the chart. And now Mandy got the second highest score of the night. She now understand too, she's breastfeeding and stuff like that and sucking the nutrients out of her and that way, but she came in at 38,000. So right there in the top few percent of the population in phytonutrient levels, even though she's being drained by an infant. So
Yeah.
okay, we got to get this going, right?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to add.
Does anybody else have any other questions on why?
I'm going to share something, Liz.
Yeah.
So, from my experience,
Let me stand next to you with the microphone so you're on the tape.
from my experience with natural lifestyle, people say to me, well, what's the difference if I eat X amount of calories of one certain food and another type of food? And I told them that it actually changes the molecular structure of the body. And that way the skin actually stays together better. So people have hanging skin, it's because of the poor diet. So
Interesting.
this is with the carotenoids, what you're saying, but I never knew about this exact title.
Okay.
Yes, cool, very cool. Yes,
So-
you can definitely see it in people's. Vitamin E is one of the biggest rich
Yeah.
in grain sources of vitamin E. And basically, vitamin E, natural forms of vitamin E, are very hard to come by. You can get a synthetic form of vitamin E very easily, and it's a very high antioxidant. But the grain is where you'll get your richest source of vitamin E. So I've had people give testimonies of their warts going away because usually warts are a vitamin E deficiency. So with kids, it's a big deal. They have the little warts that pop up all over their knees and their elbows and stuff. They need to eat the whole grain, fresh ground flour. That's the biggest reason why Michael and I are so passionate about teaching these classes, is to get people educated on how much better it is for you. Not to mention when your bowels function properly. 3 times a day, like clockwork, you'll be the happiest person alive. Your skin will be better. I mean, not many people can say, even the colon therapist that I speak with, they say, hey, you go 3 times a day, you don't need me, and most of America does not. But you eat this bread, and you will. So that just goes to show.
What do you eat today? We know what you eat normally.
I usually have, 3 or 4 slices a day. 1 with every meal, at least. I love my eggs and toast in the morning with avocado. I mean, it's so good. So good. That's like my favorite thing.
And it's not necessarily how much bread do we eat. It's really grain products. For myself, we didn't show our how we crack grains to make cereal, but
We have time. But
okay, I tend to make oatmeal every day, and for me, I figure why cook it? It tastes just as good raw, so I'll run it through the mill, crack it, and put it right into the bowl, pour milk over it, and eat it that way. It's delicious, raw, healthy, undamaged by heat even. So we're not only talking about how much bread you eat, it's the grain products, and we try to get the variety because different grains have different nutrients. So, all right, we want to get this going?
Yep, let's get this going. This is how simple it is. Pour in your water. And remember, with this is what I love about it. You go to 20 milliliters, which is a tablespoon and a half, 40 milliliters, 60 milliliters on this. And then you go up to 40 when you fill it up. Go up to 20.
Now, while we're doing this,
And go
should
up 20 more.
I get some plates and get this pizza
Yep.
out of our way? Okay,
Yep.
good. I'll be right back.
What about a KitchenAid mixer? Can you use, with the attachment?
Yeah, the KitchenAid is good. It will
Got it sitting
only
back
make
there, yeah.
one.
We can demonstrate that.
Yeah, that's the bad thing.
One
You
at a
can't
time.
get
It's
5.
very, very small.
Yeah.
So this recipe, you'd have to literally break in half in order for it to.
And with water, gotta be too
And then
loud.
when you're done with this, guys, you
I think we can hear
can
it.
separate it and throw it right in the dishwasher. So nice. Okay. So we did that. We're going to add our flour and our another batch of regular bread. And I'm just showing you how easy it is in the Bosch. Now, like I said, you can see that these 2 little loaves are not going to come to full capacity. I made 4 big loaves in this, all in one shot. So. Mhm. Variety of different grains. I like to make millet instead of just like he's making the hard red wheat. I love to make oatmeal. We're having lentils and brown rice. We're having kumut. We're having hard red wheat. When I make chicken soup, I always add amaranth and quinoa. So that's a variety, and I'm making that once a week, those things. So, and I love to make the rye sourdough bread, and then I also love to make spelt pizza dough. Make the same recipe instead of using, because you don't need it to have so much gluten in it for the pizza, because it doesn't have to rise and stick as well. I make the spelt pizza dough, and it's so good.
What did you do? Did you make sure you have the weight the same environment?
Yep, correct. That's exactly right.
Where do you get your full grains? You get it from that website?
Deliciousorganics.com, correct.
What do you like to bake? What flour would you use
Soft
for, like-
white wheat.
And you can bake regular cookies?
Pastries,
like,
yeah.
And then for sugar you use
The sucanat.
sucanat, and you get that at the Whole Foods,
Mhm.
right? And your cookies come out even better. My
Yeah.
husband loves
Where's the
those. Make
recipe
chocolate
pages?
chip sucanat and the whole
One.
flour.
They're on the ground over here.
And you pick a what's yours taste? Well, I oh, okay. I mean, but you can, okay, the sucanat taste. It's just like original.
Soft white wheat. Yeah, we can show it to you again. You want to pass those around so you can see the different ones?
And again, any of these things you can order at Delicious. I'm sorry, one more time.
Deliciousorganics.com.
Delicious Organic.
Sucanant. Sucanat. Not. No N before the T. S-U-C-A. N-A-T. Yeah. Yeah, Sucanat. Sorry, I can't spell very well. No,
Wanna pass them around?
it's not like an artificial.
No.
It tastes like sugar. It's just a different way of processing the sugar cane. It's more molassesy. It's a dark. Right, they're not bleaching it. Hmm?
Sorry, the
They're not
servings are
bleaching.
small, but
S-U-C-A-N-A-T.
So do you use it in cooking?
Yes.
And you use it how else?
Sweetening my coffee, I just don't use sugar.
This is right here.
Yeah, this is it right here.
Is it the same quantity?
Yep.
How does it metabolize?
It's just sugar. It's exactly sugar. It's just not as processed. It's dehydrated sugar cane. It's not bleached. It's not separated. It's just dehydrated sugar cane.
So that's the sugar, are you saying so sugar starts out that way, but by the time they process it and everything?
tastes
It
just
gets
as
white. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I thought there was some
Bleach.
reason I thought that
tastes just as good upside down.
was the plant. You just cut it, so I think.
Okay. Thank you again.
Yeah, you could do that too. That would be a great. I should try that because I bet that would be really yummy. And the agave nectar. I've used agave nectar too. But I love the way honey tastes. So, okay. So we put everything in there. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to show you this here. And let her rip. So if you want to whip up a quick pizza dough for the kids, it doesn't have to rise. You know, the pizza dough, you just make it, roll it, put the stuff on. No, this is not a bread baker. This is just a mixer. So for big families, this is the way to go.
We're being a little skippy on the pizza here, but trust me, you guys
Do I
are going
have
to get
gluten?
filled up.
I can't remember if I added gluten. Just don't add sugar to your bread. Let the yeast work a little bit longer. Sugar. Yeah, we just don't have a lot. We just don't have a lot.
The
I
other
use
thing is
honey
too,
a
you know,
lot
where
for sugar.
our sure. There you go. These are all these were stacked, right? Okay. How many people haven't got to taste the pizza yet?
The mouchadar is almost done
Okay,
too.
great.
So you just leave this on for 10 minutes and let it itself. There's no mess on the counter. It's so great.
Thank you so much for helping me.
If I have Vitamix, I don't need that either.
No.
Okay.
No. Don't need that at all.
Because people can always see
No. Yep. Yep. You're good to go.
really the only thing you have to have
It's the mill, right.
We're almost done here.
which is the dry attachment.
Right. Dry can. No. I mean, you can go online and look, but really they're in that range. We were thinking of getting one for the office and having it be like community grain mill and having
Perfect.
people come get their adjustments, but we haven't decided on that yet. But you know, maybe you and your friend and the neighbor
Well,
could go in on it
someone's
together
gonna get a double there.
and then switch it throughout the week. I've had friends do that can't afford it right away. But you figure if you're going to buy, once you're educated on how good the grain is for you, the only good bread that you can buy that's somewhat close to this is Ezekiel bread. And that's, what, $6 a loaf? And then for $4 a loaf, and then you times that by at least 2 loaves a week, that's almost $400 and something a year on bread alone. So, yeah. And it's not even near as good for you. So really, when you think about it, a bucket of 45, or it's either a 50-pound bag or a 25-pound bag of the hard red wheat, which is the cheapest grain, organic, and I always buy organic, is maybe 23, 30 bucks or something.
What was our timer for?
The mujadar is done,
Ah,
ready to be served.
how are we gonna serve that?
Don't we have cups?
Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna need some spoons.
Yeah.
And should be enough in there. Let me see how many I have here. Do we have a like one of those serving scoops, or how are we gonna?
No. Just use use one of these.
Where did my wet rag go? Oh, okay. I'll just leave that in there then. Just so. Now, do we have this?
Kneader.
Do we have to
Next
stir
step.
this a little bit?
Yeah, you can.
Should I just use this? Or are we good? Okay.
Careful, because that's going to get hot now.
Now, is that going to go around the room
I
if we
have
do
no
that?
idea. Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
it will.
All right. Let's do this. If you guys would help me out on this, I'm
I'll
going to
pass
just.
it out. Pass
Okay.
it out.
I was going to say they can all come up and grab one too. That'd be another
Oh,
way to.
that's great. Here you go.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, we're gonna show this with pudding. But what she's saying is there's 2 different attachments to the Vitamix. The Vitamix costs like, what, $400? Yeah. And each canister is another $100 and something for attachment. So even that's a big investment.
I'm
but
going to
it-
have everyone
it-
come up and grab one, okay?
We're gonna show you how to make pudding. We have a Vitamix, it's great. It's really good.
Grab a spoon and a cup.
Yeah, we're gonna show. You can let it rise in here. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to turn it off, let it rise in here, and then 30 minutes later I'm going to turn it back on again to get it kneaded down. I'm going to shape it, throw it in loaves,
Thanks.
let it rise again, and put it in the oven. It's so easy. I love this machine. Yeah, those huge 4 loaves.
If this stuff is, too hot for you, there's lids here too. If you want to just set it
There's,
aside for a
oil
little
on
bit.
this, it's not staying.
Sure.
See?
She's gonna want more.
I've got a kitchen aid, but somebody told me that
This
You know, I
will
did one at a
replace the
time, and
KitchenAid.
I was like,
Just
forget it. I'm
throw
going to do this once a week and get everything done.
sell your
Put done on
KitchenAid.
Sunday, and then I won't have to.
This
Yep,
stuff's
you can
really
make your
hot,
bread
okay?
once a week. Make your
So
4
you're going to
loaves
want to
once
wait a
week
little
and
bit.
use
It's
it throughout
piping
the-
hot.
Keep it in the refrigerator.
Yeah. So how many kids do you have? Just one right now?
Yeah, I have 2.
Oh, okay, 2. You pretty much just do
And
it once.
him.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, that's true. I have 3. And you pretty much you try to do this like once a week and get it all out of the way?
I do it a couple times a week,
Do you really?
but it's easy for me. And
Yeah.
you'll see how easy it gets that you'll
Maybe
be
once
able to
you
do
get
it.
used to it,
Yeah,
it
it's
scares me.
no, it shouldn't. It shouldn't at all.
I'll have you pass it out if you want me to.
Really, the recipe
thanks.
is foolproof, and if you have the luxury of getting the machines,
Yeah.
it is going to save you money. You know, if you're buying the Ezekiel bread, it's saving you money already.
Well, no, I'm trying to be better. I'm like, getting informed about this stuff is really.
Right.
How many more of these am I making?
So we turn this off, and we're going to leave it in here to rise for half an hour, and then we'll just turn it back on to punch it down and shape it into our loaves and throw it in. Simple.
Now, if you guys want, if you want more to go, you know, keep
Did you
your
set
cup
the
and
timer?
we'll put a lid on it because
And
we've
did you
got
set the timer
quite a
for the
bit
bread
here.
you put in?
That timer right there. When that shuts off, it's done.
Okay.
Does that shut off yet?
I don't know. Is it?
It looks
No,
like the
not
light's
yet.
on,
Not
so.
yet. You've got 45 minutes to do
And this is just organic rice you put in this?
organic rice, organic brown rice.
Okay, and then lentils and that's it. So you can buy that at Whole Foods. This whole recipe
and
you
onions.
can get from.
Sorry, it's so hot.
Just pour some out. Yeah.
Normally we're a little heavier on the lentils, but we actually ran short, so. There you go.
But you can add to this recipe the amaranth or the quinoa. Change it up, you know. The millet. Change up your grains.
Can we make it with the other grains? Different
yeah.
grains are going to have different properties. These two that we're using have great rising properties. The hard red is a high gluten bread, where the hard white is not. So with the hard white, we might be adding more gluten, you know, content to it, or you know, and you get used to it. There's like rye doesn't make the best rising
Right.
loaf. So
But
with
it makes
that, you
great
might,
sourdough.
you know, you might mix the rye with a good high rising grain. So you know, you just kind of learn, experiment a little bit. Again, you know, though you might not want that. You know, you might want a nice, compact, dense rye type of bread. So.
Personally, for me, it's was not on there.
So most people. Okay. So then you want to make a sourdough bread. You want to make that 7-day starter. Yeah, and your bread.
Once it started, you just
Right.
or I can try it and see.
But even that has yeast in it. You might want to stay away from breads altogether because it's still yeast in sourdough bread. It's not the same kind because it's taken from naturally what's in the environment, which you're probably used to anyways because you're breathing it in, you know? So what you might want to do, though, what I've found is try this bread because it has all the other vitamins and minerals. There's 26 plus vitamins and minerals in one of those tiny little grains of wheat. So with all those different phytonutrients, you may be able to process the yeast better. Your body might not be so allergic to it. So see how your body reacts, you know?
What else do we need to demonstrate?
Just the pudding.
Okay. What were we going to do with this?
Oh, show the oatmeal. Show how it flakes the oatmeal.
Okay. All right, we're done with this, right? Or are you
well,
going to turn it back on and
yeah.
knead it down?
Right.
Pound it down? Okay.
Right.
And how does this come off?
Twist.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you could add like the pine nuts would be super good, or some raisins. I sometimes put a dollop of hummus on the top. I love to add celery and carrots to it. I just wanted to stick with the really, I wanted to stick with a very simple recipe, but it's just cumin, salt, and pepper for the spices. And of course I added a little bit of garlic. But you can add all
wonder
different
why.
types of peppers, mushrooms. I mean, mix it up. It's so easy.
You would add the raisin at that after the cook.
Yeah, or at the very end to let them get soft.
Okay, so we're going to use the same machine. We're just going to turn it on its side there and put our little flaker attachment there. And let me see, I need a bowl to go into. What do we have in here? Is this just flour?
Yeah.
Okay, so good.
This is the flaker attachment to the Bosch, which means if you want to make oatmeal, one of my favorite things to do for the kids in the morning is the oatmeal. And what I'll do is I'll soak it overnight in the whey so it breaks down the fat. I'll flake it, put a tablespoon, I'll put the water in and put a tablespoon of the whey in there and then set it on the stove. So in the morning, instead of taking 45 minutes to make that really nice homemade oatmeal, it takes 5 minutes because it's soaked overnight. And it's so quick.
You rinse it off.
Nope, don't rinse it. Yeah. But the whey has no taste. So you can just cook it.
You whey at Whole Foods?
No, whey you have to make. You have to get that book by Sally Fallon. And the way I make it is I put a fermentation starter in it called Pima. And you can get, Sally Fallon shows how you make that. And then I put that into my milk. I set it out on the counter. And I make the curds come to the top. I make cream cheese from the curds. And I make the whey comes to the bottom. And it is so yummy. Yeah. It's not hard. I mean,
right.
really, it's not hard. You
Let me
can
crank
use
this up
butter.
here.
You can even use yogurt. Just buy yogurt and let that separate. You know that white clear stuff that comes on the top of the yogurt? That's whey.
All right,
So
I'm
just
going to
do
crank
yogurt.
this up because
worry about
we
it.
want to get our bread out of the ovens before they burn.
I'll start
But right now it's just cracking it, and you set the texture to either real coarse or real fine. This will actually make flour. It wouldn't be practical in using this to make flour for a loaf of bread because it takes a little too long. It's just not practical. When we started out, we started doing this every day. Only instead of this one, we were using the one that's attached to the KitchenAid. There's one in the back there if you wanted to see that. And for me, I would just pour milk over this and eat it. Can you eat grain raw? Is there anything wrong with it? Is it going to hurt you? I think back to the scriptures where, Jesus was walking through the fields with his disciples, and basically they're plucking heads of grain there and, popping them in their mouth. They're ready to eat. They're ready to go. It's funny because we've got these big buckets of grain, and we'll get them out when we're making our bread and stuff, and our kid will walk up and he'll grab a handful of them and pop it in his mouth like it's the natural, normal thing to do. He'll always say, Daddy, can I have some? And he wants to just eat them raw just like that. And in this case, I didn't bring any oat groats, so this is, instead of being oatmeal, this would be wheat meal. It's ready to go. Add water and put it in a pan on the stove, or just eat it like this. Pour milk over it. All right. Now, because it's going to absorb a lot of water, you want to drink a lot of water, or with it, because you don't want it turning to cement inside you or anything like that. I've never had that problem, but it really does. It's made to absorb a lot of water and really clean out the insides, clean out your insides real well. So if you eat grain like this raw, make sure you do drink plenty with it, okay? All right, so let me see. Did we get that bread out of the oven?
Yep,
yes.
got everything out.
Good, good, good.
And that comes with, if you buy the Bosch, you get that attachment with it?
No.
No, it doesn't come with it?
Yeah, this was an add-on, and it's about a $120 add-on. When you buy this, there's different levels you can buy with different attachments. For instance, you can buy this with just the bowl and the dough hook and the whisks, or you can buy the same thing with what I just described, plus this is a high-speed gear attachment here, and you can get it with the blender canister. Or you can get another level that includes a food processor and everything. Similar to the KitchenAid, you have meat grinder and citrus juicers and all kinds of attachments that you can add on to that. But getting the flaker mill with the main unit is not one of the options. So it'd be about a $120 add-on.
Okay,
Yeah.
you say the
Yes.
Okay. So the whole thing would be
Butter.
universal mixer with blender, and then you get the cereal mill attachment.
Yeah, that would be accurate. That would be what you needed. In
You
fact,
don't need the blender.
oh, the question.
You don't need the blender. There is an option without the blender.
Yeah, the question
Where's
was
the knife?
is what do you need? You need the Bosch mixer with the you don't need the blender. For us, we happen to have gotten it with it, and we don't use it. The only thing we use the blender for is measuring our water.
Because we have a Vitamix.
But yeah, we use a Vitamix for everything. It's a nice blender, but and you know, one of the things that we didn't do was demonstrate.
Vitamix is a blender.
No.
Yeah.
Say that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, let me show you.
Where's the knife?
Oh, it's in the bucket. Be careful when you reach in there. There's other knives and sharp things in there. So this is the Vitamix, and I'm going to demonstrate this for grinding grain to begin with. So let me see. I won't use my wife's kamut. No. Yeah, and we have two different canisters. This one's for wet, this one's for dry. So this one's made for making flour. It's got a different blade on it. Instead of a sharp edge, it's more like a hammer that just pulverizes it. So I'm just going to dump some grain in there.
So you can also buy that, the bread maker, and forget the other thing.
You don't even need the bread maker though. If you buy this, all you do is make it in here and pop it in.
Yeah, really all you need is something that will turn grain into flour. You know, so yeah. Well, I've never done that. I'm not going to try that. And the other thing is I don't know if you need the one with the variable speed dial on it or not. This one's got 2 speeds, fast and faster. So you do need the variable speed dial? You don't. You can need it in here? Okay. Sylvia says you can. So and we've never done that. So we never. So we're going to just crank this thing up, and let me see. I'll move it up here so it'll show on the screen if you want to. And let's see. What am I doing wrong? I'm standing behind it, so I'm pushing the wrong one. All right, and we'll go faster. Works nice, huh? And I'm going to just watch it until I see it starting to, well, almost like it's starting to stick in there. You can see the grain moving, and as long as it's coming up the sides nice and falling down the middle, it's probably getting finer. And now it looks like it's starting to stick a little bit, so I'm going to shut it down because we don't want it to heat up inside there too much. And, you know, it makes a nice, fine flour in there. You can see it basically just took our wheat berries, our wheat kernels, and turned them into a nice flour there. All right, so and it's not as fine as the machine we use. It'll be a little bit of a different texture bread, but it's a very pleasant, nice, you know, bread to eat. In fact, as I dump it in there, you can see the different textures side by side.
Of course, sir.
Yeah, and if you want to feel it, and you'll realize, you'll see it. It's just a little bit. You see there? It's probably a little bit warm. All right, different textures there. So this is a finer flour that came out of the grain mill, and this is a little thicker texture that came out of the Vitamix. But excellent loaf of bread.
Does it matter how ahead of time you grind the flour? Like, can you grind a bunch and have it stored, or?
We use the scale, and we measure out exactly how much we're going to use, and we use it all. That way we don't have any left over. So for us,
And every hour and every minute that you grind the grain and it's sitting out in the air, it's oxidizing and it's losing vitamins and minerals. So just remember that. You can put it in the refrigerator and make it a little bit, last a little bit longer, but fresh because you're getting more of the vitamins and minerals.
okay, while you're slicing these up, I'm going to get some things ready for
The pudding?
next, yeah, for dessert. I'll be right back.
Yes.
So I'm curious about the Vitamix, because that's right, I'm just trying to explain to you, like 30 years ago, I started doing the Vitamix, making the bread in the Vitamix.
The Vitamix has gotten a lot better in 30 years.
Well, you know, it's funny, because I couldn't try putting it all in there and it never came out right for me.
I've never made it in the Vitamix. You're saying that you've made the dough in the Vitamix?
The bread I've made so far is rotation, still a little
What
bit
is
wet.
your step
Just
by
wet,
step
right?
instructions so far?
Very, very simple, but it's in the Vitamix book. I don't know off the top of my head, 'cause I haven't made it that much, but it comes with like 3
I
books,
understand.
and it's very simple, and then you put it in the oven for like, I think it's 40 minutes. I think that's what I said, but I think it's only like.
The kneading part, that's not.
Usually, I wouldn't cut the bread when it's still hot because you take the risk of smushing it, and it's still a little doughy. It needs to cook that rest of the way and cool off. So, but this bread knife, this is only $8.50 from the Pampered Chef, and it will cut through even hot bread. So when you're too impatient to wait for it to cool off, and you want that first couple slices, you could do that and then tilt the bread like this
Oh, this one?
on its side, and it'll trap in the heat and still be good. So I'm going to spread some butter on these.
Okay, now for this one, I'm just measuring 2 cups of milk, and
You sure can. That would be great, though.
let's see, we need a pot to put them in. All right, so I'm going to heat this up a little bit on the stove.
We're not going to use too
And
much butter because this is all we have, okay?
Left front. Left front was on already. Okay. Okay. And we're
We'll
going to
just let
switch
it
to the
sit
wet
on there and get
container.
warmed up a little bit.
Oh, I'm looking for sugar. Do we have sugar?
Down on the bottom. See it?
Oh, okay.
So this is the herb bread that I cut. And
When you
this
say sugar, are you using sugar, actual sugar, or are you using?
organic cane sugar.
I would use sucanut if we had it.
Do you ever put Parmesan cheese in?
The bread? That would be a great idea. I haven't, but that would be a great idea. The only thing you got to remember is if it's on the outside of the bread, when it cooks, it's going to get that dried, sticky.
Knead it into it.
Yeah, even then, it's going to be on the outside a little bit. Same thing with the raisins, but it would be great. And once you get this pan seasoned, it won't even stick. So,
What are the pans made of?
stone, clay.
So did you wash them?
Yes, but not with soap,
Just with water?
just water.
Really?
Okay.
Because the stone is porous. If you use soap, it'll suck in the.
I put in a quarter cup of sugar
Perfect.
and a
Thank you.
pinch of salt. I'm going to add some hot milk to this in a minute, mix it up, and throw some whole grain in there. We'll have some whole grain pudding in a few minutes. All right, but we'll wait for that to heat up a little bit more.
You can use rice milk.
Yeah,
I've never tried it, but I would imagine you could.
it's not going to be as creamy because the fat in the milk. We use the whole milk. And like I said, I get the organic, non-pasteurized, low-fat pasteurized. I get it from Delicious Organics. Delicious Organics, when you go online and you look at it, you're going to be blown away because they deliver. We eat pretty much all organic, and we get most of our fruits and vegetables there. They make a very affordable $40 co-op box, and it has all the fruits and vegetables that feed our family and more for a whole entire week for $40.
What is the range of delivery, do you know?
They have a whole delivery schedule there. Our delivery is on Fridays
All different cities?
from Key West to Boca.
Oh,
Yeah,
Where do you get, please? Is it a,
but you can have it delivered to me and pick it up from my house.
DeliciousOrganics.com.
deliciousOrganics.com?
Yeah,
Organics with an S, right? It's
they're here only in Florida. Yes,
is that organics with an S on the end?
Delicious Organics. Yes.
Yeah, DeliciousOrganics with an S at the end. .com.
It has an S on the end of
Yeah.
organics?
Yes. So you can get all of your produce, everything there. Whatever they don't have, you can request. I love Annie and Jack are the owners. They're wonderful people.
Okay,
And that's what's making all your smoothies.
Yeah.
You have enough?
this looks hot enough.
Well, no,
so
no, not our smoothies, but our food.
Okay.
I mean, our smoothies, we are bad. If we bought
not bad.
organic for our smoothies, it would be $1,000. But we go
We
to
go through some
Costco
fruit.
and we get the bags of fruit there, and I'm sure they're full of pesticides. But you know, honestly, at $4 for a tiny little bag of Cascadian Farm,
So we got plenty of
Strawberries.
phytonutrients in the fruit to combat the pesticides that's in it.
Still better than Fruit Loops.
yeah.
All right. Oh, you know what else I need? An egg.
Okay, take some. Do you want to try some of this? Yeah, I'll get that ready for you. Take this.
All right, you're going to blend this for about 2 minutes. And then add in some, about 5 tablespoons of flour. And I'm going to thicken it up a little bit more. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yep. And the bread is still doughy because it's hot.
I
but
just
it's still
added
good.
1 egg, okay? All right, there is egg in the pudding.
Right.
And we're going to dump in about a teaspoon of vanilla. Some people might like, instead of vanilla pudding, I got a lot of pudding prepared ahead of time. But some people, you know, might want chocolate. Well, not a problem. Add some cocoa powder in there. And since I didn't really measure the sugar, I think I went a little bit light on it. Besides that, the cocoa adds a little bit of bitterness to it, so we'll sweeten it a little bit more to make up for that. And I'll generally add about as much sugar as I did cocoa to kind of balance that bitter flavor in the cocoa. Now, what are we doing with this? We got a lump of dough here. Are we doing anything with it?
We're just giving those away.
Okay.
For all of you who want to go home and bake your own bread in your own house, those loaves, you just have to beat down, let them rise in your own bread pan and cook them 400 degrees. So anybody can have those too if they want their house to smell like it. That's it for the butter, everybody. Thank you, Sylvia, for sharing the last of your butter. I'll replace it with a big stick. Yep, you gotta go. Okay. And if you guys want to order from Pampered Chef, just take, well, it's really hot, so be careful. So just call me within the week or so. And you can always place orders later, but to do it for a party, we can do it that way.
The what? The lump of dough? Yeah, hang on, but we're going to do that at the end because we'll pound it down and put it in a plastic bag, okay?
In the Pampered Chef
thanks.
brochure, everything that's
That's good, we
highlighted
can do
is
that.
stuff that I would recommend. Really, the measure-all cup is a must-have. The bread pans are a must-have, and the grain mill, the Nutri-Mill, is the only thing that you must have to start out with. You don't really have to have the measure-all cup, but it's really nice. And the serrated bread knife, it's only $8.50. Can't believe it. It's like the best knife ever. I have like expensive Cutco knives, and this one's better.
Someone asked, they said, you know, do you put this in the dishwasher? Basically, this is how we clean it. And we might give it a rinse after that. You know, that's about it, though, for the... Okay.
The Nutri-Mill is the, where'd it go? The grain grinder. Makes the grain into flour.
Okay. And, you know, I like putting this in a nice big, thick, you know, glass thing, put a lid on it, stick it in the refrigerator, and let it set, or pour it right into your dessert dishes and stuff. So we need to get those out. Well, I guess we'll probably eat this and then bring in the pudding, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Is the pudding on here, or do you have to go online for that?
That's on the online. I haven't seen one of those. I'm not sure what's on there, but the one online has all of the recipes and a few more. It has the whole grain pancake recipe that's made in a blender. It has a millet casserole, and it has a few fun recipes too. You know, because we thought some people might wonder, well, what do I do with my? You know, I got a bag of flour sitting on the shelves. We got some recipes what you can do with that too. For instance, you can make Play-Doh. That's yeah, which is like dough, only it's for play. Okay, and you know. There's also, we have a recipe, you can make some good glue out of your white flour. So if you need some, all right. So there's plenty of ways to get rid of it. I wouldn't put in it. It's at nlcclub.com for newlifechiropracticclub.com.
Do you guys want to come up here? And then that's a great idea.
Yeah, and that is a good point.
I can cut more raisin, but we don't have any more butter, so it's good without
Robin
butter.
was asking about, you know, or she was saying that, you know, you can explain how the white flour is glue in the body. I mean, you can use it to make glue, and that is what it's like, and it's this empty, useless, non-nutritious glue in your body.
And that's why the people become overweight. Because of eating the white flour.
Yeah.
I want to take some for winter glue in the body.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget, on the way out, stop by the kitchen and grab your loaf of bread.
Where is it? Right in the kitchen?
In the kitchen, you'll see a bunch of loaves of bread. Everybody gets a loaf of bread to take home. So in the kitchen, there's the little loaves. So make sure that you stop by and get that. And like I said, somebody gets to take home these loaves here and this dough for
Do we need to break them up in the right size? And I got plastic bags to put it in first too. So, but you guys got to stick around because you got to do the pudding yet.
Yeah. Oh, and grab a pudding. It's in the refrigerator. The pudding.
Pudding? Okay. Oh, goodness. I'm so ready in the car, and I thought, I can't do this. I can't leave them out.
No, you can't. It's great.
Off.
And this is usually a whole lot better when it's not so doughy and compact when you let it cool. It's more like red, but it's so good when it's... Yeah.
This is not even quite done yet, but it'd be a perfect time to add some, you know, raisins in there and stuff. And this is just this is hard red wheat in water, making cereal. Didn't grind it, didn't crack it, didn't do anything, and make it excellent.
Right out of the bucket.
Right out of the bucket. Yep.
Is that equal parts water to equal parts of that?
Yep, equal parts.
And if we forget all this stuff, we can go on your website and it's going to walk us through all this stuff.
Yep.
That's correct. nlcclub.com. There's a
Exactly.
excellent. Thanks.
No? Anybody want to try the pocket? Usually it's better when you put spinach in it, but... Did everybody see our pretty braided loaf? Go back. Yeah. I don't use them.
Pardon me.
Order our, is all the shoes done?
Yeah. I use the stoneware pan for cooking chicken. And I would use like a skillet, and it's never a problem.
All right. This gentleman has dibs on a lump of dough.
Okay.
What's your favorite thing?
I just bought, Birdimes was having a super duper sale on Belgique. Belgique. It's got a copper bottom.
I don't know, but it brings out an interesting point because we
You
do
don't have
this
to get
recipe
copper
by
bottom,
weight.
It's just the cheaper one.
You can, when you buy your grains in bulk, you can use the store scale and measure out your 1 pound 4 ounces of grain right there. Then all you have to do is get it ground. And we've talked about keeping a grinder in the office here. We
is
haven't
gonna be a
really
little
decided
dry.
on that yet, but we might do that so people can, because that's the one hindrance.
Yeah, put it into a loaf pan, let it rise, and bake it.
Now, do you leave a little room for expansion there because it
Yeah.
it is going to get big. Okay.
That's for half an hour, right?
400.
I mean, half an hour.
Yeah, you'd let it rise for half an hour. Rise till it doubles in size. And that's usually half an hour.
What are you waiting for?
Oh yeah, we still have more. We have this one over here.
Well, I meant, while we're waiting now, rising for the cupboard.
No, it's definitely rising. Totally rising.
Half hour, we don't put on.
Yeah, an additional half an hour.
You can-
Once you shape it into the pans, you have to let it rise again. Remember, Michael set it over here and let it rise again.
Mm-hmm.
So you let it do 2 rises. Right. Always let it do 2 rises. One in the pan, and then once you shape it, then you let it rise in here before you put it in the oven. You can let the pizza rise. Yeah, exactly.
All right. What's the favorite recipe?
The raisin bread.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And what's that mean? I missed what they put in.
All right. Yeah, we can cut it. We're done. Thanks.